Good morning, Nigeria. A fresh dawn is here, and so is your number one morning conversation. This is Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television. It's Friday, December 12th, 2025, and I am Samson Balogun, thrilled to be on this conversation and on this team today as we bring you clarity, depth, and stories that define our nation's waking hours.
And I'm Anulu Akpo. Great to have you with us today, this morning. Whether you're getting ready for work, settling into your day, or catching us on the go, thank you for choosing us as your morning companion. There's so much unfolding across Nigeria, and we are here to break it all down for you.
Definitely. And I'm Oluwayemi Adelako, and together we'll guide you through a dynamic blend of news, insight, and conversation. It's Friday, it's fresh, and we are bringing a brand new energy to your morning.
All right, let's kick things off with Daybreak Gist, and we'll begin with the Senate chambers where history was made yesterday in a dramatic but widely discussed confirmation process. The Senate has cleared Femi Fani-Kayode, Reno Omokri, former Abia State Governor Okezie, Ikpeazu, Ex-Inec Chairman Atairu Jega, and of course several others for ambassadorial positions. I mean, there's a lot going on in there. These developments have set political circles buzzing, raising questions about diplomacy, loyalty, redemption, political recycling, and what this means for Nigeria's global representation. We'll break down the reactions, implications, and the fresh wave of commentary it has triggered nationwide.
And after that, we'll bring you the weather updates, and then Daybreak News comes up on board. Your crisp, no-nonsense roundup of the biggest stories shaping Nigeria and the world at large.
Definitely. Then comes our newspaper review and analysis. The headlines are loaded this morning, and we'll be unpacking the issues behind the print, helping you understand what matters, why it matters, and how it affects you. And joining us for that session is Lekon Shoboale, journalist and seasoned public affairs analyst, and of course one of the sharpest voices in headline interpretation. For
today's big story, we're turning a spotlight on a question that strikes the heart of governance, and you want to know what the question is. The price of waste, how reckless government expenditure undermines national development, from abandoned projects and inflated budgets to needless foreign trips and bloated convoys. Nigeria's losses run deeper than figures on paper. These choices shape the quality of life, stall infrastructure, and erode trust in leadership. Today, we examine the true cost of mismanagement and explore why financial discipline is no longer optional, but essential for national survival. And joining us to unravel that conversation particularly is our guest comrade, Oluwakemi Ademola, a respected social commentator, public affairs analyst, and strong advocate for good governance. She'll help us understand not just the symptoms, but the systemic roots of reckless public spending.
And of course, we'll wrap things up with Trend Watch, your window into the hottest stories and conversations capturing attention online and across the street.
So, wherever you are, stay trend. Of course, stay tuned on this show. You are in for an engaging, thoughtful, and insightful ride this morning.
And I'm proud to say this is Daybreak Live Extra on Dominion Television. You're welcome. Let's get right into the conversations.
Definitely.
I must ask you a very deep question this morning. So, after the show, where are you heading to?
I mean, it's a senatorial day, so we are starting with the conversation of senators.
So I would love to know if you are appearing on the floor of the Senate.
I wish this could be the floor. I wish I could be, you know, an ambassadorial candidate to be maybe to not just nominate, to have you people question me as to what I want to put to the table, what I'm bringing to the table. Don't grill me, just grill me. Tell me to take a bow. Let me take a bow and leave.
You know, that takes us to what happened on the floor of the House yesterday. Some senators were grilled, some were asked to bow and go. And I saw the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, the late Senator Isiaka Abiola Jimobi, on the floor of the House. She was visibly happy to be there. You saw the smile on her face. And most importantly, she was asked, she wanted to say so much about herself, and it was like, we know you. Just say your name, then just take a bow and go. And so many other people like that. The wife of Ohakim, former governor of Imo State, was also there. She also wanted to say things about herself, take a bow and go. I think that happened to all the female nominees. But then when it came to the turn of Reno Omokri, I mean, a lot happened.
I think it's the game changer, honestly. And I expected this, in a way, because of some of the things that he has said in the past, and then
about President Bola
Ahmed Tinubu. But then I think a lot of Nigerians have made peace with the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a problematic person.
Before you go for that, is the president running an inclusive government?
Well, it depends on who is answering that question. I mean, for a lot of persons, for once at a time, I had issues with, some names on the list, because they're looking at those lists and then you start imagining the things they've said in the past about this person. But then, in whole, it depends on the president to decide to say, okay, this is the person, or these are the kind of people I want as, as ambassadors, for Nigeria. So let me go back to what happened yesterday. I don't understand what happened, because if you recall, when the new Minister of Defense was going through his screening process with the Senate, the same issue happened. Some senators were like, just take a bow and go. But then some senators were like, no, why should he take a bow and go? Even the Senate President, Akpabio, had to stand up to say, no, you cannot ask him to take a bow and go when people are being killed daily. Children, adults, Muslims, and Christians. And people have questions. Let us question him. Let us get to know if he can really do the job or not. So back to the issue of the senators. Now, I don't understand why some senators will feel like, okay, maybe these people should just take a bow and go. I mean, to become an ambassador of Nigeria is not just beans. It's not just anything that you can just, maybe just do, not putting so much attention, or not putting so much effort. A lot of effort, a lot of things at stake. And that's why even some persons are saying, even these people, if they finally get that position, some persons should not be posted to certain countries. Because why? We've seen what they can do. One of them even mentioned that he has a short fuse. Some people are saying, don't post this one to United States because you know that there will be problem with that particular country. So all in all, I don't understand why that should happen. And then what happened between Senator Ali Ndume and of course Adams Oshiomhole should not have happened at all. I mean, it is not a contest of who holds a political position or not. Imagine when Senator Adams Oshiomhole mentioned that, okay, I have been a governor. Of course, that's the head of a subnational government. So whosoever that has not, become a governor before should not speak. And then the senator also replied to say that, okay, I've become a senator long before you even dreamed of becoming a senator. It was a contest. It should not have happened. It's about Reno. Reno was so quiet. I mean, what could you have said in that situation? So it's so sad. Why can't we allow those people who have questions to question him? Regardless, yes, Ali Ndume said, I've known him for 25 years. He's a good one. But then, if people have questions, you don't have questions for him based on relationship. But people who have questions, let them ask their questions, honestly.
I guess that's where I'm also going to start the conversation from my end. To say, I mean, for the first time, I saw a lot of people that you would acclaim to be very confident coming to the Senate chamber. I mean, like the committee's chamber of the international affairs, foreign affairs, and then they were, for the first time, I saw maybe nervousness, you would say. But that's expected anyway, because this is actually a role that over 200 million people, exactly, over 200 million people cannot feel or have not filled, and you are called, singled out to fill it. So I saw a bit of nervousness, and I was very excited. I did not like, just like you mentioned, I didn't like the fact that some persons were said to, just because they mentioned some of the things they've done, just take a bow and go. I did not like that. Whether or not the person has done, and I think we were talking about something about what it means to have experience, a political experience, and what it means to have leadership experience, as it were. And I think we had the conversation, myself and Samson, one day. And it was just that you have an experience in the political, or should we say the public office position, does not mean the experience is enough for this new task.
Right.
How
equipped are you?
I'm looking for that word. Yes, how complementary are those experiences to what you are about to do now? So if you have to really screen these people, look around the things that they have done. Yes, good enough, but also look at what they want to do. Are there new things you're trying to put on the board or bring to the table? We should have those kind of conversations, not just take your bow and because you've served or you've done something before in the past. That's like, it's now history. I get down before no be property. We want to know what your property is now. We want to know beyond the things you have done before. Now, I think that's also the conversation between Adams Oshiomhole and Ali Ndume was also a thing to look out for. But I tell you, I do not like watching the Senate floor sometimes. You know why? Because I see a lot of jamboree. I see jokes. I see tantrums. I see when they talk about national issues that affect over 200 million people, I see the way sometimes because there's no bad. I'm not saying it's bad to have humor, to be a person of humor. I'm only saying that there's a level humor can get that it will discredit reality, to discredit the level of seriousness in conversation. So you don't want to put humor all the time to say, okay, just make jokes around. No, it's not necessary. At that instance, we have just, how many hours do you want to spend there? Not so long. Make it concise, make it professional, make it official. There's no all this joking around to say if I was a subnational leader at some point. If you have not been in that position, when I talk, you should not talk. Those things are unnecessary for crying out loud.
What you saw on the floor of the House yesterday, while the screening was being conducted, is just a micro experience of what Nigeria is all about. Now, these people were taken from geopolitical zones, senators. They were taken from their different senatorial districts, which happens to be a representation of their districts. Now, that's what you will call mini Nigeria in that space at that time. And you could tell, we have said this time and time again on this show, that Nigerians are quick to forget. They joke about everything and anything. You can imagine when there's a level of insecurity in the country and some people went ahead to, I think, Unilag and make a joke out of banditry and terrorism in the country, and they said they were shooting content. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't. But these things will continue to happen in a country like Nigeria because we tend to trivialize issues. Now, going back to the issue of the president choosing people who have at one point or the other maybe said things about him that you would think, should these people really have relationships after this? Someone like Reno Omokri. One thing I saw that was clear on the floor of the House yesterday, Reno Omokri was calm. He knew what he was coming there to say. He knew they were going to grill him. He prepared for that kind of situation. And he was never nervous about the situation. In fact, all through the whole drama between Aline Dume and Senator Adams Oshiomhole, he was calm. He was waiting for the next question. Okay, what else do you have for me? And for some people, they were really happy to be there because they knew what was going to happen. In fact, when the wife of the former governor of Oyo State, Senator Abia was talking, at the point after mentioning, I am the wife of the late former governor of Oyo State, who happened to be a senator, former vice chairman Southwest of the APC. She reeled out the profile of her husband, not us. Are you there?
Yeah.
Not us. Nothing about her. Just I am this, I am that, and then that was it. So the real thing is, sometimes you find yourself in that situation. But Nigeria as a country, are we there yet when it comes to level of seriousness? I think we are on ground zero.
And like they say too, that everything rises and falls on leadership. So if our Senate leaders are playing, joking, like they say, don't play, but they play. If they are playing at that level, imagine any other person who wants to make a skit of this. It wouldn't be a problem. That, again, one of the things I also saw was that, this is not the first time, really. If we have to talk about jokes and all of that at the Senate level, there was a time they said they have sent mail, and they said, okay, I revoke my statement. You've said it already. It's on national television. But that's even not. There was a time they were grilling. Oh, they were not grilling. They were screening Bianca Ojukwu. Yeah. And I remember the Senate president at the time, of course, the current Senate president, Akpabio, was saying that, she's a beauty queen. And they went on again and again to talk about how she's beautiful, how she was a one-time beauty pageant for the country Nigeria. And I was tired. I was like, okay, so what again? That someone is beautiful means the person is competent? Is it really true? So I saw a bit of fraternization at the Senate level, which is not supposed to be. Whether or not you guys have interpersonal relationships, make it after the whole show. Have your parties, do whatever you want to do. But at that instance, let it be clear that you are grilling these people. Don't, at a point, there was one of the women that was supposed to be screened also. And then I think Adams Oshiomhole was alluding to the fact that she's also an APC member, and she was, pivotal to how this administration came to be. And I remember one other senator was saying, if she's competent, let's talk about competence. Let's not talk about whether or not she was partisan, whether or not she did something in this particular APC or that. Sometimes they take the joke further to the party level. It is not necessary. This person is coming to serve Nigeria, not APC. It's coming to serve the whole of the country. It's going to be our representative across the places you're sending them to. And it's very important that we understand how competent these people are and what they are bringing to the table. So I just wish I could just tell the Senate that whenever we have this kind of conversations, can we make it serious? I'm not saying you should grill them and make them, unnecessarily nervous. I'm saying ask them the right questions. There are right conversations that should be had.
Okay, another issue that I have with all of this, is the fact that if care is not taken, the next time that, nominees are supposed to be screened, they might not really prepare for it. As a matter of fact, they might just have the mentality of, okay, I'll just take a bow and I'll leave. Because I don't understand what happened there, yesterday, because it's a very sad one. Another nominee, I think he goes by the name, Emmanuel Adeyemi, a career diplomat. He was asked to name 3 senators from his state. He was only able to name 2. Yes, maybe it was an oversight. Maybe he forgot, or some pressure can make even exams. When you get to the exam, if you're not careful, you might forget half of what you've read. So that is very possible.
What has that got to do with?
I was going to talk
Representing
about
Nigeria.
Exactly. So the kind of questions that these people ask, and of course, the kind of...
They seem watery to me.
The quality
it
of
doesn't really make
questions
sense
is
to me.
questionable.
And these people are supposed to represent Nigeria. Nigeria that is of course, we are giant of Africa, regardless of whether some people do not believe. I'm not sure both of you agree on that. Okay, but then these people are supposed to be screened properly, ask the right question. And of course, what happened yesterday, there are other candidates that will be screened, should not repeat itself. I don't know what is going on. Senator Adams Oshiomhole has been very vocal in the last few months. I don't know whether I'm the only one that is noticing that. And of course, so if we ask questions...
Dume did the same thing earlier in the year.
Exactly.
I think January, February, March, down to around April, May, he was really vocal on national TV saying all these, he's been blocked from seeing the president and the likes. Maybe we're having a replica of what happened to Alin Dume to Adams Oshiomhole.
Yes.
It wants to be seen. Maybe that's the case.
And they also mentioned one thing to say that, okay, when he said that, we cannot pretend that we've not heard stories. Speaking about Reno Omokri, the things that he has said, okay, he said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a drug lord. We saw videos, we watched the interview and all of that. Ali Dume
went as far as going to Chicago University.
Exactly. He went there. We saw the video, honestly. Ali Dume now said, that was not brought before the Senate. The Senate is serious business. Really. If it's serious business, then you will not tell him to take a bow and go. When there are questions you should ask, even it might not even be based on the videos or maybe some of the things that he has said in the past, but can he really do the job? Because I mean, a lot of persons felt like he hustled for this position. Whether that's true or not, we cannot really tell. But then the president wants him to become an ambassador, and of course this should not be the final stage. According to what I read, even after all of this screening process, I mean, they still have to send the outcome to the Senate for final approval. And of course, I want to believe that they will do justice with that. And of course, they will not say, okay, since they've been screened and then that's it, the president can just announce their names and that's all. We need to do better. Nigeria has struggled to have ambassadors for the last 2 years. If we cannot get it right, I want to believe that we will not blame ourselves for naming these ambassadors, honestly. Because what's the essence? If at the end of the day, we spend 2 years trying to gather names, and at the end of the day, we gather names, and the names, Nigerians are even scared for their lives. They are scared for their country. It's sad if you cannot screen those people properly, honestly.
Well, I think I would just hope and pray that all this would eventually mean what we expect it to mean for the country Nigeria. But going forward, I think one of the conversations that also erupted from all of this is if the president is really inclusive in his approach. And some would say yes, especially with Reno Omokri's nomination, to say someone who has publicly criticized you again and again, and you're putting the person,
so many times in this administration,
so and it's the same person you want to put. But again, I wish they could have asked Reno Omokri, do you want to work for somebody that is a bad leader? Are you ready to take the task? Because you have to be. Are you going back on your word? The things you said. Do you want to say to the house that, because it was a committee. It was a committee. Yeah, that I never meant it. I was just because the way I saw it, it wasn't absolutely correct. I didn't have all the pictures.
Maybe after a little bit of research, I got
I got to discover. Can you go back on your word, or maybe continue to say, I'm ready to work for a bad leader? So because what does that make you? Because, the inclusiveness of this government that we're talking about is still a thing that, sometimes you want to beg why people stand up for what they stand up for. Because is it that once you stand up for something, you want the attention so you can be called for something? Whether or not you've spoken against the government does not matter to you. What matters is if they see you and you are noticeable, then they'll give you an offer and you take it without asking questions. Do I want to work with these people?
You see, one thing I've always said to people, if you want to be probably an activist, I do ask this question. Okay, as an activist, are you hungry? Right? What exactly is the motive behind you being an activist? Do you want power or you want money? If these two are the reasons why you want to be vocal, you are not ready. You are not an activist. You are just a castivist, like some people will say it out there.
But activists in the morning and maybe something else in the night. It's possible.
Well, in some cases it could be like that. But then, all in all, one thing I noticed about Reno Omokri, I think I have tried to follow him in the last 2 years to see what exactly he does. Pan-Africanism is one thing he holds there. He's a lover of the country when it comes to what he says. Forget about what he says about personalities, but what he says about the country, Nigeria. I think he sometimes when he talks, he goes on and on to say, look, he provides solutions to some of these problems. Oh, this is happening and these are the solutions. I think someone who thinks that way should really be included in one way or the other. Only if the person at the helms of affairs wants to work with him should, get to, work with whatever it is when he's been nominated. But then, sometimes politics is different from being a technocrat. Yeah, as a technocrat, you might want to say, oh, I need this person, he has to work with me. But in politics, interest comes first. So if the president is interested, yes, but is the party interested in bringing people who did not do anything for the party during the election into the party and then be the ones to enjoy the largesse of what is going on? So I think the president should really think about this. It is good, always good to make friends with who you can call your enemies, but don't make enemies out of those who are already your friends. That might be disastrous.
Honestly, speaking on that, let me just add to that. I think you're very spot on but then there's been a little bit of change in Reno's approach in terms of how he speaks about exactly. I think there was an interview that he granted recently with, I think it's a podcast really, and then he was asked the same question to say, we've heard a lot about what you said about this person, the president. Why is it that, you are now trying to, make him look good now in the last few months? And he said that, it is possible that, you have a feeling about someone, in the last few months and then you can change that. Yeah. And then he also mentioned the fact that I think apart from even the individual now, he's been able to portray Nigeria well. You notice it. I follow him on X, so I see some of his posts. You always wear all those regalia, African regalia, just to portray Nigeria in a fine manner. I don't know. It depends whether they'll be able to work with him well, or maybe there'll be issues. We really cannot tell. But there's one thing about Reno. I'm not so much of a fan, but it's the fact that I think he's cerebrally sound. Maybe that's part of the reason why this administration, is saying, okay, let's have this kind of person, be an ambassador for Nigeria. So he's up to Nigeria. And there's one thing about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that I'm still trying to understand. The reason why he's comfortable working with people like that. Look at Daniel Wala. If you know the things that Daniel said about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you'll be shocked.
Atiku Abubakar during the last election, and then he's back with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I think a lot is going on. And it's only the president that can come and say, look, this is why I do what I do. But that will take us to Weather Report on this show this morning. That will be the convenient time to leave that topic.